Welcome to USTC360. I'm Ginger Chang. Our feature today is a big salute to all the dedicated recycling volunteers and environmental activists around the world. Recycling is one of the best ways to combat and reduce climate change. We're very privileged to have Angela Lam, the founder and owner of Bottle Up, which is the first and only redemption center in Fresh Meadows, New York. Welcome, Angela. So first off, why did you decide to do this?
My daughter goes to Tzu Chi Chinese school, and I think Tzu Chi did a lot of recycling teaching in the school. Also, I read a lot of articles, and I think this is a really big issue, and we should start saving our Earth. When I first sent in the application to start this center, 98%, I would say, the people in the community against what I'm doing. After the community board meeting, we got a letter from Boy Scout, and he really supports what we're doing.
Then how about now? What does your center offer?
We collect the New York 5 cents containers. Once we collect the bottles and cans, we will can it and pack and send it back to the beverages company.
Well, let's go to our first segment. Our volunteers in California are doing the same thing as you. Let's go see how the commitment of one recycling volunteer was able to inspire a dozen more individuals in the city of Cerritos to join the green movement.
It's all Sister Amei's fault. Every Monday, she would come into our community for recycling. Whenever I would be walking home to get something that I had forgotten, she was always outside collecting recyclables. When I would see her, I would ask, "Sister Amei, what happened?" I didn't know her, so I was curious as to why she was collecting recyclables and why she was covered in bandages. I offered to help her every Monday. She said that would be wonderful and accepted my offer to start the following week. That's how I started.
Every morning, Ame would get ready early in the morning and drive her car around to collect recyclables. This routine began in 2007 and continued for years. Beginning with a 4-door sedan and continuing with her 8-seat SUV, she would stop without pause at every household.
Recycling is very simple for me, a joyful thing. Before, when I would get off from work, I would just stop working. People often ask me why I do recycling every day. The gods are testing my perseverance, testing to see if I'm lazy and just throw recyclables in regular trash cans. Before this, there was no recycling program in Cerritos. If you don't tell your friends about recycling, the recyclables just end up in the trash. After you start doing this, you begin to understand the concept. I like to do anything and everything related to conservation. I really enjoyed Tzu Chi events. Before, I didn't like driving on the freeways. The only time I would do it was to take my husband to the airport. I was teased a lot about that, but I was just really scared of the freeways. Others teased me and said, "Just think of us as your husband." I told them that it was an entirely different thing. But I kept trying and gradually got used to it. I just understood that sometimes we just need to do it. After I had been recycling for a while, one time Jingzi laid some Tzu Chi printed materials next to me. I didn't know about Tzu Chi, so I just took the printed materials and tore out the pages for recycling. When she asked me if I had seen the stack of magazines, I told her I had torn out all of the pages. She took them back, and I think she pasted them again.
Cerritos Recycling Initiative started in Sister Jingzi's garage. As more and more volunteers joined, not only did the community accept the program, the volunteers also formed connections with their neighbors. When Sam Chen met Ame, he also joined the group. In addition to being a professional running his own business, he also dedicates a lot of time with the community recycling program. With the simple desire to do good, he joined the green movement.
Doing Tzu Chi work is a joyful commitment. It means a lot to you. A person should not think about the good karma and merits that he is generating. And you won't be joyful if you only think about how useful you're being. A job may take 20 minutes to do by working alone, but only 5 minutes if you're working with 4 other people.
Being a single volunteer in recycling to becoming a leader in the program, from recycling only randomly to recycling regularly 2 days per week, the Green Warriors from Tzu Chi Cerritos consistently to do their conservation work.
I joined Tzu Chi because I want to get things done. Eventually, I saw things with my eyes when I went through the training program. I realized it's all for the good of Tzu Chi. It's part of being Master's disciple. We all support each other.
Sister Jingzi also inspired a retired Chinese language teacher, Mrs. Ma, who decided to offer her garage as a collection point and promotes recycling to her neighbors. The other Tzu Chi volunteers go there regularly too.
It was mainly Brother Chen. He has great drive. He just did it. I could see that in him. The spirit of just doing the right thing. That was the first sentence that touched me 14 years ago when I joined Tzu Chi. Just do it is the right thing.
60-year-old Jim Tai also met Sister Jingzi through recycling. After he retired, he joined the green team and recycles with them each week.
Organizing a mess, making things neat, recycling all the reusables, and disposing of the things that are unrecyclable really makes things clean. There's a special kind of joy in not asking for anything in return.
55-year-old George is one of the youngest teammates. He is also active in reaching out to local schools. One of the elementary schools in the area has now become a weekly recycling collection station because of his work.
It's a form of exercise, and it's a lot of fun for us brothers to hang out together. We just try not to think of it as being a chore.
69-year-old Kan began recycling in 2007. Due to insurance requirement, he and Brother Chen are the only eligible drivers for the recycling car. Although he is a silent driver, he's very dedicated and enjoys recycling.
First, we concentrate on collecting these items, and then we put them in the car and take them to sell. We then each make a guess on how much money we will get for each trip. Whoever guesses the right amount gets a meal. It's a lot of fun.
Sean saw Tzu Chi's sign accidentally and entered the Cerritos Tzu Chi office. Because of his sister's support and welcome, he began learning and joined the brothers in doing recycling work.
In the beginning, I was mostly folding newspapers. Then I learned how to sort the newspaper. I only learned about sorting after coming here. I never knew about that before.
Simon, who looks serious and quiet, also dedicates himself to the recycling program. Brother Zheng is 82 years old and the oldest member of the team, but he has a youthful heart in spite of his age. He has been doing recycling work for 6 years now. He does everything with sincerity, works hard, and has established a great reputation.
We take our work very seriously. We have developed credibility with the sources of our recyclables. That helps our work. Colored papers are separated from the white ones.
74-year-old Lian is called the chief because in Chinese, his name means squad leader. Although he's physically disabled, he has dedicated himself to conserving resources.
This is not colored paper because it contains wax, so it is not counted. Whatever can be thrown out, we'll throw out. These are the real colored papers. I think that if the recycling centers still want to use it, they can. For example, this piece that I showed you, although it's from a magazine, it's still smooth, so maybe it's a different kind.
陈师兄的关系带动来这些人，因为陈师兄这么伟大，他讲话就这么得体，所以
他说你得体耶，他说你得体耶，这就是他
讲话很得体啊，在什么样场合讲什么话。
他说得体就是很得体，不是得体啊，叫得体。
所以本来一个变这么多个，你看看。
All the volunteers cleared out this area and sold everything as scrap paper for $30. Wow, everything is finished and cleared. What can you do? When they saw the other volunteers being so busy, they just cleared it out themselves. We tried to relieve the sisters of these troubles.
We won't scold them. There's actually nothing to be angry about. I won't hurt their feelings over some old newspapers. We are still going to be long-term partners. That's just taking things in stride. We don't get mad, but we still do need to talk about it.
I have to tell this. One of the sisters told my wife that she needed to let me go play ball because if she didn't, I wouldn't come to recycle.
If we want to keep his heart, we must let him do what he likes, right? Only then can he persevere.
There is so much value in recycling that just by recycling 1 ton of paper, you save 17 mature trees, 7,000 gallons of water, and 4,000 kilowatt hours of electricity. That's enough energy to sustain the average American home for 5 months. Mrs. Lamb, so what do you suggest we can do to help people build a recycling habit?
We should just do our part first, and then we should give out more information to our neighbors and friends and family. I think for recycling, everybody should not just throw all the garbages to one garbage can. They should separate by category.
Then how about for people who are still uncertain, let's say in New York? I have a picture here, okay? And these are 2 recycling bins and they're color-coded. Can you tell us what recyclables will go into which one?
The green one is for papers and cardboard. And the blue one, we should put glass, metal, beverage cartons.
So let's go to the next segment where our volunteers through the routine gathering recyclables around Cerritos has also helped them form a strong bond. Bright and early, the Cerritos recycling volunteers gather at Brother Ken's door to get ready for a day of recycling work.
Basically, our original schedule was to start at 9:30 a.m. When we were finished, we would eat and then go home. However, we soon realized that we couldn't do anything at 9:30 because the preparations took until after 10. After making 2 trips, we wouldn't get back until around noon. Soon the sisters would have to wait for us before mealtime. After some discussion with the brothers, we switched the time to 9 a.m. I knew that they all exercise in the morning around 7 or 8, so after that, they can get ready and we can meet at 9 a.m. They all agreed. So we've been starting at 9 a.m. for more than a year now. We do it every Monday and Thursday from 9 a.m. until noon.
We come here every week. Tzu Chi recycles on a regular schedule so that we do a more thorough job. The schools also like it better because the recyclables don't accumulate. It's more important to cultivate a habit of weekly commitment than it is to sell a large amount of recyclables.
Sometimes, people can be rude and think of us as scavengers. We just have to be understanding and forgiving. Initially, we were bothered by these hurtful words, but we gradually got used to it. Some people would just think that way. But it's okay, as long as we don't let it bother us. It just takes a slight change in perspective. In 2010, we had recycled about 130,000 pounds per year, which was over 62 tons. We receive about $10,000 for that amount. Last year, we did a little less because newspapers are less popular now. However, we still did about 120,000 pounds, only about 5,000 or 6,000 pounds less. So, the average amount we recycled is about 110,000 pounds. About 60 tons, 50 to 60 tons per year. When we have more male volunteers, we can recycle faster and sell more. When the female volunteers do it, they can't move quite as much material, so some of the stuff is kept and not sold. Also, sometimes volunteers will see the recyclables they've collected and think that it's too much to bring to the office. So they'll recycle them at home or even throw them away. Now that Sean and Simon have joined us, our team is a force to be reckoned with.
The beginnings of this team started with just one volunteer having the desire to do something to save the environment. Now the Cerritos recycling team has built a name for itself in the community and steadily contributes to saving the environment.
This is just trash, and we can't recycle it, but this paper can be recycled.
As the volunteers recycle, they promote the importance of environmental conservation.
All of this stuff, if we don't recycle it, all of these things will be burned. Just think about how much energy will be wasted burning them. The other alternative is that they will be placed in landfills. If we're late for a week or 2 weeks, we'll get calls asking why we haven't been there to recycle.
The Cerritos team makes its rounds on the streets of the city, from different pit stops to the recycling station at the office to other collection points, then back to the recycling station again. All of the collected items are then sorted and sent to the recycling factory. Every day the recycling car takes the same routes repeatedly. But the volunteers are never bored. They happily go about their recycling work and enjoy their game of guessing the weight of the collected items and buying meals. The Cerritos recycling team started with Sister Jing Zi in her personal garage and has grown to more than 10 weekly recycling collecting trips and more than 100,000 pounds of recyclables each year. It requires perseverance and dedication on the part of the volunteers. But for them, this is not hard labor, but rather joyful earth conservation work. Keeping in mind of just do the right thing, from Jing Zi to Ame to Sam Chen, These recycling volunteers live the spirit of all recycling volunteers in Cerritos. They're leaving a wonderful page in the history of Tzu Chi USA's recycling work. So Angela, New York City was ranked 16th out of 27 cities in handling its waste. What are your plans for the future then?
I expect to open another location by the end of this year. We are also doing, helping school, churches, and Boy Scouts to do fundraising. I think we collect about 10,000 units. So this is extra money to help our kids to learn more. This is really a good cause, I think.
And your small steps is definitely making a big difference. Continue what you're doing. You're doing a very good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on to the show.
You're welcome.
In our next segment, Footprints, we introduce you to Winson Sun, who shares the same young at heart spirit and great dedication like the Cerritos recycling volunteers, but as a Tzu Chi media volunteer.
When I came to the United States in 2001, my wife gave me an address. She said, "You should go and take a look and see if they need volunteers." So I joined Tzu Chi. I started off in charge of the general affairs and have remained since then. Being in Tzu Chi keeps us busy since many of us are retired. I was thinking I can have a part-time job by moving and arranging things, and it would be enjoyable. Therefore, I started to develop my interest in this area. I also help the medical team at Tzu Chi's free clinics. It's really disheartening to see that there are many Americans who can't afford health insurance. It's sad to know this, especially during the RAM event last year, when I was a media volunteer. I was shocked to see there were already people lining up around 2 to 3 a.m. The lines seemed endless. Some of the people even slept on the floor in the cold weather. It was difficult for me to fathom why they had arrived so early. I often think on ways of how we can help them. So I concluded the best way is to humble ourselves and give them spiritual support. Although we are not professionals, we can help comfort them mentally. My wish is to be a true media volunteer, to document the goodwill of our fellow Tzu Chi brothers and sisters with accuracy. Then, later on, their individual stories can be enjoyed generations and generations later, and they will know that such a good organization like Tzu Chi exists in the world. I feel very fortunate to be part of Tzu Chi.
I hope today's feature in particular has been an eye-opener. The future of this planet is our social responsibility. The shift towards a greener lifestyle is possible, you just have to do it. I'm Ginger Chang, and I'll see you next week.